We act like we're all mature, that we know everything that the Bible has to teach us, but we fail to even recognize that all Paul's teachings was the ABCs, it was the 1, 2, 3s. There is so much more that the Father has to give us that we're not ready, and we think we're mature, but we're spiritually less than 5 years old. It really amazes me. Bones and meat. Those who grew up in Christianity, everyone knew, they were taught about the bones, the meat, and even the fat, with the Old Testament. But I want to kind of bring it a little bit different perspective a bit here. So whenever we're really young, as in like infants to toddlers, and as we grow, we first start off with, water and baby food, milk, and slowly can build up to soft foods. And then eventually, once we get some teeth, we know we can eat harder foods and kind of chew on it. This same thing, it kind of works as a parallel with as we're growing spiritually. And the old adage, saying, truth, whatever you wanna call it, chew the meat, spit out the bones. What if the bones that we throw out are just meat that's just too hard, too tough for us to chew on and digest where we are at that point? Whenever we're toddlers, we're eating soft foods, and steak, can't eat steak. It's too hard. Our either our teeth aren't developed, or we'll choke on it basically. And that's kind of what happens a lot of times with deeper things of the Lord. Just like how, I believe it's John, at the end of John, Jesus, before he ascended, he said that he had so much more to teach us and to show us, but we can't handle it now. They couldn't handle it at the time. I have a strong belief that the stuff that we throw out these days, it's too tough for it's steak whenever we're barely being able to eat like soft foods. And a lot of the New Testament, Paul even said that a lot of the stuff was basic stuff. It was the 1, 2, 3s, and we're having a hard time with that these days. We act like we're all mature, that we know everything that the Bible has to teach us, but we fail to even recognize that all Paul's teachings was the ABCs, it was the 1, 2, 3s. There is so much more that the Father has to give us that we're not ready, and we think we're mature, but we're spiritually less than 5 years old. It really amazes me. There are times whenever harder truths come around to us and we hear it, but we instantly throw it out because we're not ready for it. The Father will kind of send a messenger to give us something, just to see how we would react, and most of us throw it out. But eventually it comes back, and I don't know how many of y'all have noticed it. I've noticed that I've had it happen a couple times, and I caught on to it after a while. I'm like, wait a second, this same thing came around my ears a year or two ago. And so by that point, it's another, I call it test. You can call it whatever you want, but I call it a test. It comes back around to see how we would react. If we're more mature, we would actually look into it and try to kind of meditate on it, to try to digest it, to see, all right, is this the enemy, or is this the Father trying to give me something more to eat on, something that Jesus said that I have so much more to tell you, but you're not ready. Am I ready for this? Whenever there's another saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. What if that little adage, what if that little saying, that little truth is the teacher to see whether or not we truly are ready? I strongly believe that we should never throw away all these extra little things that kind of come across. I always say whenever something comes along but we don't understand, put it on the bookshelf. Never we can never throw this stuff away because we may what if the father's trying to teach us something and it's a part to see, okay, this is the first time he's throwing something at. It's like I can see him saying, throw this at him, see how he reacts. Some of us may dive into it, others will throw it away. I believe in putting it on the bookshelf because if we put it on the bookshelf, we're not throwing it away. We're kind of putting it on the back burner in a way to see, because we think that we might have caught on to something, but we're not really sure. We meditated on it, but nothing came, so we just put it on the bookshelf, and just we waited. We just wait to see if he adds anything to it. But whenever we do throw it out, or we whenever we do throw it out, that could show that one, we're either hard of heart because we think we know everything, and so thus we're hindering our own growth, or maybe we're just putting on the bookshelf. I kind of challenge everyone to really think on how you react to different little things, different possible revelations that may not seem like anything at all. But how you react may show where your heart is, and if you're hard of heart, that shows that you're not going to be growing at all. But if you put it on the bookshelf rather than throwing it out, period, we leave room for us to grow and not basically prevent ourselves from becoming stagnant. And as many of y'all know, I am against being stagnant because to me, stagnation is death. And when I mean death, I mean like if we're not growing, if we're not actively trying to grow constantly, yes, there's a difference between not moving to rest and becoming completely stagnant where you don't do anything, you don't try to move, or you don't try to grow for a long period of time. To me, that is death. And whenever I don't move, whenever I don't do anything, trying to improve myself, whether it's like working out, trying to increase my knowledge, grow close to the Lord, that kind of thing. If I'm not doing that in some way, shape, or form, I feel like I'm dying. And that's stagnation to me. But if I'm doing something, even if I'm not actively working out, even though I know I should, but even if I'm trying to grow in knowledge, pursue the Father in knowledge and all that, to me, I'm growing, I'm doing something, I'm being active, and I'm not being stagnant. But yeah, I challenge everyone, don't become stagnant. There's nothing against when it comes to being taking a break. But I always say when something gets dropped in your mind, it gets dropped in your spirit, and it doesn't make sense even after thinking on it, meditating on it for a while, put it on the bookshelf. Because the Lord may be dropping you something, but it's just the first dot in the line of dots pointing you to something else, and He just wanted to give you that to get it for some reason later on, because we never know how He's going to work, and y'all know that we never know how the Father's going to work. A lot of times when people ask me, especially those who are who see different synchronicities, hear different things that are repetitions, seeing multiple the same double numbers everywhere. To me, it's like it's basically saying that I'm on the right path, And if I don't understand it immediately, to me, it's like the Lord is setting up a number of dots all in a row, and slowly but surely, He's making a line, an arrow of where He wants me to go. But it's just sometimes a slow process, especially if it's something new that He's bringing about. But He's having to take us a different route or take us a specific route, because if He showed it to us all instantly, we would throw it out because one, we don't understand, and two, it could go against our current belief system. But He's wanting to break something in us. So I hope that encouraged people. I hope it encouraged everyone. It kind of gave y'all a light, a continued light on how I do things, especially whenever I don't understand, because there's always room to grow.